They're theoretical. Their whole existence is theoretical.
You know,
I don't believe they exist personally. I don't think there's any good evidence for black holes.
you know, they have mathematical equations, and that's it. You know,
You can observe things in the sky that you can interpret as a black hole, but really, you just got an X-ray source. There are a lot of other things that could be X-ray sources. And I mean, to my mind, and I'm not a physicist, but when your physics starts relying on, imaginary numbers and describing physical situations that are basically impossible, that isn't science anymore. That's like witchcraft. It's like saying, well, the basis of science is the idea that the laws of physics that we observe are the same through all space and time. Physics here is going to be the same as physics in New Zealand, or physics on Mars, or physics on a small planet orbiting Betelgeuse or something. Right. So when you start having to explain things by saying, yes, except here where, time turns inside out and you have infinite, the minute you say infinite, you got to be careful when they say, and I'm not saying that it's bad to use these maths. I mean, they're great and they can solve problems. We can predict what's going to happen. I mean, you need to do this, but try to take it and push too much of it into the physical world. I mean, math is a wonderful thing, but it can't replace common sense. You can prove mathematically that honeybees cannot fly. I mean, math is great, but it's simply a language. It's a way to describe things, and I can describe all sorts of things that don't exist. Oh, look, there's a unicorn. Yeah, this hippogriff just flew by. Oh, a wyvern. So yes, the thought of a unicorn is a real thought, but it is a thought, and it's no more than a thought. It's no less than a thought. Thoughts are important. Thoughts lead to action. We have to think before we can act, but that's why we have to be careful about what we think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Very careful.
What's that where you kind of, this was...
Your thoughts become your actions.
Huh?
Your thoughts become your actions, and your actions become your destiny, basically.
Manifest reality. You manifest...
Yeah.
That back in the 60s and 70s where you can make your life whatever, and you can, but you got to be careful with that.
Right. It's a great deal of power. Yeah. And it's not the way people, I mean, I'm a Buddhist, I'm into Buddhist philosophy, and we have this idea in Buddhism that basically the mind comes first. Yeah. And we were just now talking about thoughts leading to actions. In Buddhism, thought is itself an action. Thoughts are very important. I mean, in Buddhism, we don't have 5 senses, we have 6 senses. And the 6th sense is the mind, because we sense things with the mind. And we accept the idea that we can't know ultimate reality, because everything we know is the creation of our brains, right? We have these electromagnetic fields impact on our eyes and ears and everything in our skin. And we translate that into this world. And we can agree, you and I and everyone here. So if I hold up, I was talking about this with Mark Edworthy, a Zippo lighter, and I say, this is a Zippo. And he says, yes. So we can build civilizations and build cars and stuff like that. So, but the thing is, before you even start interpreting anything that comes to you, because you interpret everything, you've got a mindset. You've got like a grid to make order from the chaos that's coming in. So if you can change that grid, which is what Buddhism is about, and a lot of these schools of enlightenment and awakening has to do with controlling your mind rather than trying to control the stuff around you. And yes, then the world does change, quote unquote, and you can make yourself something different. But it doesn't mean that you're going to suddenly transform into another being. You know, you're not going to change basic biological facts about yourself. You're going to be changing your mind. And from a Buddhist perspective, the mind is much more important than the body, because the mind is going to outlive the body. And you want to make sure that, you know, that the mind is going to be going somewhere good, put it that way. There's a great quote from the Buddha when he said, what was it? Nothing that nobody else says or does to you can send you to hell.
Right.
That's in your court.
That's it. Yeah, that is.
One of the interesting things I read when I read the Tibetan Book of the Dead was it said everything is mind.
That's one way to put it. The Tibetans got a little weird with their Buddhism. Don't get me going about that.
Yeah, it was really, really, really in depth. It was kind of hard to follow that particular variant of Buddhism. It was super in depth.
We were actually talking about that last night, weren't we?
Yeah, you know, I have a friend who's very knowledgeable about Vajrayana Buddhism. That's the Buddhism of Tibet. He started off as a Tibetan Buddhist. Later on, he found the Theravada Buddhism and was actually a monk for a while. But maybe we could get him to come down and talk about Tibetan Buddhism one of these nights.
That'd be great.
That would be cool. We could have him come on one of these Creepy Corner episodes for sure.
Yeah. Well, he might even know him. Well, Roger, you've done work with my pal Brian Rue before, right?
Yeah.
As long as you keep him on the topic of Buddhism, he's great. I think his YouTube channel just got canceled for the 14th time.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's a legend in the Buddhist Discord that I hang out at.
Yeah.
Now, one thing too that I a lot of this actually sticks out to me when it comes to what we were talking about earlier about unconscious intention. You know, that I think that was probably one of the best conversations we had when it comes to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that was your question. You came up with that question, Roger. That was a good one.
You know, and like when people talk about things like this, you know what I mean? It's like you have to look at coherence and intentions, okay? And you have to look at it like that. And then like especially like tonight is supposed to be creepy, and it's supposed to be about Christmas, I guess. So the best way I could say unconscious intentions would be like in the Bible. I mentioned this to Otto the other night with Legion, where it says that Jesus went up into the graveyard and the guy was possessed by 1,000 demons, and it said, "I'm Legion and we are many." Now, if you remember, he cast those demons out into the swine, and they went down into the water and drowned themselves. Okay, you know.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I remember that story.
And
that was fascinating.
Yeah, and we had a conversation last night about intention, and it just opened up a whole bunch. I mean, it was a really, really good conversation, you know.
It did kind of relate to that whole Legion thing, because when we were talking about like intentions and how, because one of your questions was, can you have subconscious intentions? And it's like, we have so many different people in us. Really, we're a committee. You know, I mean, you're one person when you're at work. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you think about it. You have a different head on when you're talking to like employees or employers, different head with your family, different head with a stranger or with a friend. So, and there's hundreds, thousands of us. There's the little kid who wants that bloody ice cream and never got it 50 years ago and is going to get it, you know, and then there's the wise, you know, it's everything's calm, everything's cool, kind of guy. And then there's the like, hey, what the hell? I had no idea. You get all the. I once sat down and I wrote down all the different me's I could come up with, and I came up with like, I don't know, a couple of dozen different, you know, things I am. You know, bloody angry, happy boy, this that. So
like with my music, I'm a one man band.
Yeah.
Exactly. And all these different selves have their own little agendas, and they're very sneaky. They're very sneaky. So you can have an intention. Well, we were talking last night. I was using it, talking about quitting alcohol, for example. And it's like, well, your conscious wise self says, I'm going to cut back on my drinking. I'm not going to drink anymore. And then you find, why did I drive past the liquor store? Oh, it's on sale. Just because there's part of you that's like, I want a bloody drink. I want to get a bottle of port.
Right.
That deal. So you got to be, you can't let these other selves sit in your control chair. And one good metaphor is you've got one chair in your house. You need to sit in it, because the minute you let any of these other characters sit in it, it's like you're hitchhiking and there's somebody driving along and they say, you want to get it? Yeah, sure. By the way, who are you? Where are you going? Why are the police chasing us? I don't know how to use this gun. What? You have no idea. And if you're not in your chair, if you're not in the driver's seat, you have no idea where you're going. And it always starts fun. And that's what gets me about this stuff. In my own experience, like I'll be there and I'm very aware and I'm in the moment. Like, well, think about this. This is fun. This is nice. This will be pleasant. And then it twists right around to something dark, because part of you wants to be angry or sad. People love to be sad. I play music. There is an entire industry built around the country music industry, where people go into the bar, cry a tear in their beer. They listen to Leonard Skinner, and they cry. Some of their songs make me cry. And people deliberately they want to. Aristotle said, what is it? Drama should excite pity and terror in the audience. And we were talking about scary stuff tonight. People like scary movies, sad movies. They like these emotions. We enjoy sitting in a pool of self-pity sometimes. I mean, we don't, but part of us.
And actually, that's a creepy concept.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was. Somebody like Phil Collins, actually. I think it was him. I wouldn't be quoted on that, but it was somebody like he said, like with Michael Jackson, if you look at his best hits, there's always like a hint of paranormal and mystery in a song, and those always become big hits, like Thriller, because they like that.
That's an old link between rock and roll music and paranormal and weird. You get guys like, what was it, Robert Johnson, who went to the crossroads at midnight, where a dark man comes, he tunes your guitar for you, and suddenly you
sold his level to become a better blues guitarist because he sucked before.
So
because it was in the air tonight, and they said, why do you think his song is such a popular song? And he said, well, it's because it's kind of mysterious and people love that, and also it can be about love, and they love that. And he said it's got all the elements, but he said a lot of your songs, and I got to thinking about that. A lot of songs that are big hits have that little bit of mysterious paranormal feel to them. And he said that